right, here we go again. Buckle up. So I'm going to explain something that you all should already understand. It's not rocket science. It's not something that only a few people experience in life or have knowledge about. Turn that volume down a little bit and see if it might be a little clearer for everyone. All right, so here we go. When your child misbehaves, if you're a parent or if you were a child, and adults around you, a school teacher, whoever it is, you misbehave, something happens. Either raise their voice, stop that. That doesn't work. After school detention, or we'll take away your phone for the evening, and you'll get it back in the morning. You do it again, they take it away for 2 days. So this is something normal we've all experienced. That creates something called deterrence. So let's go back to my time in Santa Fe. I discovered that there was a woman. First, I just thought it was a woman with kids, and that's it. You know, just you see that in certain communities, especially impoverished communities, because the father's either in prison, dead, or never existed as far as anything stable. And that's for various socioeconomic reasonings. At a certain point, I realized that this was the border thing. She was probably listed as a sponsor, maybe even fictitious names. Like in my mind, she could have been like 5 sponsors. Like they don't really exist. Fake ID is easy to come by. This is under the original Trump administration when we noticed that surge in young children. Again, it was actually happening under Obama also. And the final piece was they, the link up happened in front of me. And based upon how the child acted and how the parents acted, or the alleged parents or whoever the adult going to be this, but she was handing them off. So whoever's on the sponsor sheet isn't who ends up with the child. For all I know, they ran a prostitution ring. It was a young girl. Believe me, I lived there long enough to know that they don't care about nobody and about no thing. It's all about criminal money and criminal anti-power. So what encourages that, and you gotta understand, there are children that didn't make it to that point. There are children that were raped on the way up, murdered on the way up, may even be in a horror house in Mexico or even in another country, basically being pulled out and put somewhere. This many years forward, they could still be in bondage somewhere. They even have stories where mom sends the kid to the United States and she parties. In Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, Mexico. We'll let Uncle Sugar raise our kid while we do drugs and party and have sex and work for cartels. Freedom. And then when I get older, I'll say, my child is an American. Right. Or U.S. citizen, should I say. They're trying to phase out. Everybody says America. You should be saying U.S. citizen. Right? Or I guess native born U.S. citizen. Because an American, it stretches from, the southern tip of Argentina Already up to the Antarctic in this hemisphere. Well, we need to specify at this point. Whatever that guy's name is, Americus or whatever his name was. I don't remember his name. Yeah, Spamucci Americanus or something. It's a failed experience or experiment, should I say? Not experience, I guess it's that. So we want to deter that kind of thing because it's not safe for the children. They're going to show you success stories from up here, but not let you see what happens all the way along. So what the Democrats did is they're trying to defeat deterrence and put children at risk for their own personal and criminal gain. I don't believe it's a political gain, although it might translate into political gain. But at least I think by the summer it'll be apparent that those votes are going to shift. They need to get rid of the census figures with the immigrants in it, the non-lawful immigrants, and then all that representation will go back to U.S. representation, not foreign. I said this years ago. We're representing foreign nationals. I mean, our government's representing foreign nationals, not representing us, because we can't bribe like they can, because we won't do it, and then we don't have. But we would have if they weren't here. What you would actually have, you would have a combination of maybe a little higher wages, but what would happen is before COVID, again, they're going to blame COVID, but something happened around all that to keep the prices up and all that stuff. The cost of living went up. If you remember, it was, I think a rent was like a rent at well, if you go to extended stay, you could stay there for $730 a month. Utilities, everything, Norman, Oklahoma. Today it's probably $1,500. Well, because drug money can afford $1,500 a month. Benefits fraud can afford $1,500 a month. Sex trafficking can afford $1,500 a month. If you work for a person that is in that stuff, and maybe you're just an accountant or whatever you are, yeah, they're going to pay you twice the going rate, right? Something an American can't do because they're not criminals in a $1 trillion, let's addict the world to our narcotic scheme. So what that man told me on Cerrillos Road in Santa Fe, that every business here just about is a money laundering business, is now true about the rest of the nation also. That's why they're fighting ICE. They want the drug money. They don't care about you kids, man. So we need that kid to leave, the 5-year-old, so we can save all the other 5-year-olds and 10-year-olds and 14-year-olds. And they're just going to, if that kid isn't deported, and they still might do it, they're going to send all these kids up here as soon as it warms up. Everybody wants their anchor because now you created an anchor class. That judge created an anchor class. What these judges are saying is actually unlawful to a certain degree. But again, they can make their ruling. It'll go up the chain and get trumped or stomped. Right? Well, I believe this person should have this proceeding and that proceeding. In fact, you can't even detain them. That's bullshit. But what you need to look for is when that judge makes that ruling, do you see an economic increase? It's time to look back. Or more speaking engagements leading to economic increase. So we need that 5-year-old to leave as soon as possible so they don't ramp up the 5-year-old machine. So ICE isn't being mean, they're actually being nice. And again, I'll tell you, part of it is just a shtick. Like now it's over. The task force with what's his name? Bovino. I don't think Bongino. Wait a minute, that's Bon Jovi. Because it's his job to make you afraid to come here illegally. That is. He spent his whole life making you afraid to come here because it's not safe to begin with. So again, it's not easy to be a military person and kill people to make the world safe. It seems like it's the opposite. If you're like a young person, wasn't that wrong? I mean, but it doesn't work because what happens is if the military doesn't do what they do, then other things happen that are it's far worse than protecting. Now, the only reason ICE is in that posture is not only okay. They're saying, well, if the states will cooperate, that's one part. But because the people are on the street, the states can cooperate all they like. If these people are still on the street, you're going to see people getting stomped because you can't do that. That's like standing in front of a cop trying to make a 911 response. It is the same thing. Don't listen to them. The only reason it has some sort of civil implication is because the laws are ancient. They needed to be updated. There's no constitutional protection of not deportation of illegal immigration. Right. That's where they want you to believe. Like, actually, ICE is more empowered than most law enforcement agencies dealing with their target of detention. They want you to believe it's the reverse. U.S. Marshals have, what is it? We have the largest, pretty much the largest authority and jurisdiction in law enforcement. We really do. Or we used to. I don't know what it is now. We don't abuse it. It's very quiet. We don't do, half of what we could do. I mean, when you're a deputy and the first time you arrest a ship, you're like, wait, did I just do that? I just arrested a whole ship. I mean, the captains are like, they'll listen. Here's a deputy. That's it. I stand down. Crew stands down. Right. And the ship is ours. I mean, a ship. So, but we don't abuse it, and they don't abuse it. So, but I'll tell you what, we don't have that detention authority that ICE has. Again, involved with their target class of detainee. That's where the judges are struggling. They may be doing it on purpose. I don't know. Like knowing that they're ruling in the wrong direction. Well, because the judges are trying to apply the detention authority of, let's say, the FBI. And it's just different in ICE, in Border Patrol, any immigration type of arrest. Right? Fifth Circuit has just shown some of that with their latest ruling. And it's simple. You can look on the video all day long and you watch immigrants flee. That's why that was allowed. This is why these things are allowed, because it's a presumption that they're going to flee. I think it should have been put into the the statutes and things like that, and the laws and the rules and everything else surrounding it. The word presumption is very important. And I thought it was a rebuttable presumption, but apparently, if you entered the government or if you entered the United States illegally, even if it's on parole, you and you've been here 10 years, you cannot rebut the presumption. So I'm not sure where that's going to go. There's Lyons' mind. He's in here a lot. I speak it like you would normally hear it, right? Or a feeling. Sometimes you don't even hear it. Like in your head, you go, yeah, I'm right. And you feel like everybody's with you in spirit, right? Or somebody's with you in spirit. Well, I'm sure Lyons and the attorneys have sat down for a year now or close to that. And of course, he's been there longer, and they've they're not adjudicated, they've discussed and brainstormed what the law actually is and went over it to make sure they were correct. Right. So even as a deputy U.S. Marshal having this immense authority and jurisdiction, we do not have more than the FBI. Actually, we do not have the detention authority of ICE when they're dealing with that class of immigrant. I'm not playing class warfare anyway. It's just simply a way of speaking. I guess at a certain point they could find the law unconstitutional, but I think it's been tested. I don't think it's at that point. The only way for that detention hearing to happen would be, again, hiring an immense number of judges. I don't even think the magistrates could handle it. If ICE actually said every single person that judge required us to give a detention hearing to, if we tried to schedule that with the federal court, they couldn't handle it. The chief judge would even be doing detention hearings all day. I'm trying to think of the largest arrest that our courthouse dealt with. It might be the Greeks. The Greek cigarette thing was pretty big. They were smuggling cigarettes without paying state tax, but it's cross border state lines or something. And in Baltimore, Greeks are pretty big, so it was a pretty big deal that they were being hemmed up. The airport, that wasn't that big though. That was a big operation, but the airport employees that were not really lawfully working at the airport was pretty big after 9/11. They're immigrants. Well, I think unlawful immigrants and unlawfully present for whatever reason. They're not allowed to work at airports. They have lied, false ID, that kind of thing. You have to transport a lot of those people somewhere after the arrest. So again, it's not about that kid. We have to make that kid feel uncomfortable. We have to take that kid's iPad. And again, I understand there's poverty in the world, but we're not going to fix the poverty by empowering narcos. We're just not going to do it that way, and that's one of our problems. Narco. Once we get way in a normal economy in Central America, the narcos kill it. So we have to get rid of that kid because now you made him mad. See, again, the Democrats keep making him mad. And Republicans can do it too, but it was the trans people. The only reason the trans people were hated is because the Democrats use that, for some political clout, and then everybody hated them. Before that, I mean, it was kind of nobody even really noticed them much. In the mind, I say that all the time. Just you notice how quiet it is. And they say, well, what about they're hate? Yeah, but because it's the Democrats are doing the same thing with them now. Now they're being hated. Well, Biden made a big mistake. If Biden didn't do what Biden did, this wouldn't be happening. Now something would be happening, but not at this level. I believe in black empowerment and Latino power, but not to the point of Latino supremacy and black supremacy. And that's what's going on. Again, black supremacy is going by the by the wayside. Why? Because Latinos have more drug money, more sex trafficking money. It's real. Corruption was even in the Department of Homeland Security. I mean, so some woman goes, "I paid somebody." Now she may not have paid DHS. She may have paid like Hawaii PD or some Honolulu PD or whatever it was. They may have represented themselves as DHS or somebody was on the take. I don't know. Some woman run sex trafficking. So it was almost like a replay of the Serpico episode with Al Pacino. You can't be precinct whatever. I paid them this morning with like a bunco squad bust gambling. Well, she said, you can't be DHS or who HSI or whatever it was. I paid them. She's paying somebody. If I'm saying it, make sure you keep it clean. It could be coming up. Again, we don't want ICE or DHS to have more power than they're supposed to. So again, if they're going to get into corruption and shaking people down for money, no, we don't. But again, the Latino communities do that, even to their own people. So the immigration system's even broken to the point that there's these pseudo governments in all these Latino communities that are shaking people down. Maybe even shake you down for your daughter. Forcing things on them and putting them into slavery and sex trafficking. Well, believe me, I know how these cultures work. And again, it's here too. It's like a case system. Well, she's beneath us. We're not part of that. Right? We're not criminals, but yet they'll take that money. not even care that that person, again, even bringing people into the country that don't care that it's going on. Again, a lot of people from Central America fled oppression by cartels and whatnot, but when it became chance for them, or there was an opportunity for them to be that, they said, yeah, I'll be part of that. Because they weren't fleeing the concept of oppression. They were fleeing the concept that they were down and they were oppressed, but they don't mind oppressing someone else. I found that out just by trying to live in a Latino community. So again, it's not that we're looking to deport that child for some ignorant reason. You made that child a draw for other children to come here by saying, oh, here's your anchor, get out of jail free card. So we don't want that to happen. We have to deport children also. And somewhere along the way, maybe it's past my lifetime at this point. I don't know, because it's going to take some time. Or at least where I'm not like, where's my lunch? uh, we'll get the immigration system back in order. It may be sooner than later. It may be sooner. We might be able to do it in this administration, but it'll all return to normal. And we'll bring people in as they are needed, and we're going to need to bring everybody under the sun in. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.